The US is escalating its military buildup in the Caribbean as Venezuela warns the campaign could trigger a full-scale conflict. A US naval task force has arrived off Latin America. The Trump administration says the action is aimed at drug smugglers bringing narcotics into the United States. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has ordered nationwide military exercises and accuses Donald Trump of trying to overthrow his government.
Venezuela is bracing for the worst. It's mobilizing its forces nationwide, including the army and a civilian militia, for a military exercise to counter what it calls imperial threats from the US. It follows months of Washington's airstrikes targeting boats suspected of carrying drugs in international waters, including near Venezuela. Marking a major escalation in the US military buildup, the USS Gerald R, the world's largest aircraft carrier, has arrived with its fleet of warships and jets. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro remains defiant, accusing Washington of fabricating a war to remove him from power.
If we, as a republic, as a people, must go to armed struggle to defend the sacred heritage of the liberators, we must be ready to win, to triumph through the path of patriotism and courage. And I say, with the whole country, peace, peace. We want peace. We will have it, facing maximum pressure, maximum preparation.
Washington's actions have raised concern abroad, with France warning of a potential full-blown conflict.
We've observed with preoccupation the recent military operations in the Caribbean for one reason, which is that France is a Caribbean nation with overseas territories that by the way, are at the front line of drug trafficking. And given that those military operations are not compliant with international law.
For now, both Venezuela and the US are digging in, leaving the Caribbean on edge.
Joining us now from Berlin is DW's Oscar Schlenker, who reported from Venezuela for many years. The arrival of the US aircraft carrier in the area is unprecedented. What measure or message is Washington sending?
Well, I think over the weeks we have seen that this deployment is meant to send several messages. The most direct message is to the cartels, and we have seen similar strikes in the Caribbean, but also in the Pacific. So targets are not exclusively from Venezuela or leaving Venezuela. The other message is regime change in Venezuela, and it's geared towards establishing pressure to Maduro's administration, which is accused of supporting cartels, but also other criminal activity. The overall message is dominance in the region. At a time where there are a lot of geopolitical shifts and support for Trump in South American countries through governments like Argentina, most recently Bolivia, and most of the Caribbean, which is supporting this military deployment in the region.
The Venezuelan president has responded by putting the military on alert, accusing the US of aiming for regime change. What do you make of those claims?
Well, yes, definitely. They are very nervous about this. We have seen that regime change has been on Trump's mind since the first Trump administration. And we have to keep in mind that even though this is the message that Maduro is trying to send out, they are still receiving planes of deported Venezuelans into Venezuela, and there are still leaving ships full of oil from Chevron. So there is communication between the U.S. and Venezuela somehow. And we also have to remember that this is a very violent regime. It has used this message of regime change to close in on the opposition in Venezuela. We have seen this last month the most repressive in a while, with more than 1,000 political arrests. This is a government that's also accused of crimes against humanity, persecution against journalists, and against human rights defenders. So they have used this message also to close in on dissent and opposition within the regime.
Oscar, international criticism has been building from France and the UK. Could they see the US change course in how it handles all of this?
Well, yes, we've also seen the UN has criticized the attacks on these boats. UN's human rights chief, Volker Turk, even though he's criticized the Venezuelan government in the past, he said these attacks violate international law and amount to extrajudicial killings. However, given the support Trump is having in the Caribbean, and the thing with drug trafficking is that there are many regional treaties like the Kingpin Act and other legalities that allow this type of deployment in the region. However, this excessive use of force is what's being questioned, not only by U.S. partners, but even by some in the U.S. Congress, particularly the libertarian side of the Republicans. Mm-hmm. So for now, what we are seeing is that we're hearing from other media outlets that the UK is stopping their intelligence sharing with the US.
DW's Oscar Schlenker there, thank you.